I just woke up like half an hour ago, and I've slept for, I don't know, 5.5 hours, which is not that short, but you know, still, I mean, I'm really tired. Hey guys, what's up? And today I'm gonna do a mini albums review where I talk about albums. And today I'm gonna talk about 6 albums because there are a lot of releases in the past month. And I'm gonna start off with Joji with Ballads 1. Oh my gosh. Joji, Ballads 1. Alright, yeah, Joji. If you don't know who Joji is, Internet Meme Lord, Filthy Frank, Pink Guy, they're all Joji, okay? But unfortunately, they all had retired, and now Joji is officially a musician, an alternative R&B singer, working in the 88 Rising musical label. And yeah, his music isn't all that great, but I have to say, surprisingly, they are mellow, they are moody, they are soft and pretty, and it I could see him heading to great directions. The album starts off with Attention, which has some beautiful piano chords, and I guess the vocal performance is a little sloppy, but nonetheless, it's a beautiful song. And the second half of the song is kind of like super bass boosted. It's one of those meme videos, originally the guy's just normal and he's chill, and then after the bass boost, he's actually Filthy Frank. He's actually Pink Guy. Ravioli, ravioli. Yeah, that hurts. And then, um, well, I Attention. It's a pretty good track, right? It's not all that great, but still, it's okay. And then we have the second track, Slow Dancing in the Dark, which is the leading single to the album. And the vocals and the lyrics are way more mature than most of Joji's work. The arpeggios are very dreamy and beautiful, and the vocals have a vintage vibe to it that I really love, and the hook is explosive. And overall, the song just gives such a sad and romantic and pretty vibe to it, and it's such a catchy song. So it's one of the most impressive moments in Joji's discography so far, and I love this track. I love this track. And then we have Test Drive, which is actually way more different than the other tracks on the track list because its production is way less lo-fi and organic and more glitzy and glossy, and Joji's performance here sounds like he's trying to impersonate Post Malone, so I'm not all that crazy for Test Drive. But then we have Wanted You, which is amazing. The guitars are scattered, they're sunburned. We have these thuddy kick drums, and this track, it just feels woozy, it feels bittersweet, and it feels like taking a warm shower in a cold, wet day. It's very orgasmic almost, and yeah, it's a very very sweet track, and it sounds very sunburned as well. And then we have Can't Get Over You featuring Clams Casino, which is a little fun little detour track with the very miniature beat, which is kind of gentle and funky, and Joji's vocals being kind of cutesy and sweet. I think it's a pleasant song, I guess, but not all that exciting, you know. And then we have Yeah Right, which is actually the first single released towards the album. Yeah, I like the beat on this thing. It's very lo-fi, but the vocals are kind of forgettable. Yeah right, yeah right, yeah right, yeah right. And then we have Why Am I Still in LA, which has some really heavy bass and distorted guitars, and the beats are very driving. And we also get these lonely and chilling glockenspiel notes during the verses. And overall, the song feels calm and moody. But once again, it's kind of forgettable because in terms of vocals and instrumentals, it's not all that exciting. However, if you're looking for excitement in this album, you have to look no further than No Fun, which is a sturdy, fresh, clean, awesome track. The beat is very bouncy, and overall the track feels optimistic, upbeat, and it's extremely catchy. And the pre-chorus is awesome. It's just awesome. And yeah, great song. And then we have Come Through. Once again, it's kind of bass boosted. And then we get these vocal performance that's auto-tune, and it's kind of forgettable. The track Rip R.I.P., the vocals of Joji, again, it's not that good. But Trippie Redd actually gave a pretty good performance here. I think the beat of this track is very mundane and bland, however, and the way the track fades out is just kind of underwhelming. We have XNXX, Xanax. The beat is very mellow, and the vocals are once again not all that great. And this track tries to be sweet, but it just ends up really boring. And the album ends off with I'll See You in 40, which is actually two pieces of music slapped together with a very awkward and jarring transition. And this track is a total mess. Joji tries to be experimental in here, but totally failed. Because I guess maybe he didn't put enough effort or thought into it, so it's just kind of an awkward mess. And overall, I think this album is meh. I mean, there are great moments in here, but there are also underwhelming, forgettable moments in here where the vocals are kind of weak and the instrumentals are kind of too lo-fi, maybe. I am giving Joji's Ballads 1 debut album a 5 out of 10. A strong 5, at least. And my favorite here is Slow Dancing in the Dark, and my least favorite here is I'll See You in 40. And then up next, I'm gonna talk about the new Rosalía album, El Mal Querer. Sorry if I butcher any Spanish, because I'm a dude, an Asian dude from Hong Kong. It's already pretty damn good that I can speak English fluently, but, I don't speak Spanish, so, cut me some slack. But yeah, El Mal Querer, An Evil Desire. Rosalía is back. She is a Spanish singer, Catalonian singer specifically. And last year, she had released Los Angeles, which is a very beautiful and touching Spanish flamenco folk album. But for some reason, a year later, the music that she's releasing sounds entirely different. It's more pop-oriented, and the production of this thing is, like, off the charts. And I also like the titles of the album. Like, we get the title of the song, but we also get a subtitle. Usually it's one word. It's cap 1 or 2 or 3, and it's usually one word describing the overall feeling or vibe of the track. I think that's really smart. But yeah, anyway, the album starts off with Malamente, which is a great leading up single to the album. Of course, we get these Spanish flamenco hand claps, and the vocal melodies, they have a flamenco vibe to it, but overall it's a very catchy and cohesive and smart pop song. And the music video is fantastically choreographed. I love it. And I also love these Spanish ad-libs. Hijo, así sí, tra tra. So yeah, Malamente is an amazing track. And up next on the second track, we have Que no salga la luna, which is a very strange piece of pop folk mix. It's really crazy. In fact, most of the tracks on the album are basically strange pop folk flamenco mixes. And on this track we get these very springy European, almost freaky guitars that I think are very flavorful and tasteful. And the vocals by Rosalía is so expressive. It's so free. Her range of vocals is just so amazing. And I think the background vocals, the male vocals, are also a great touch because It really gives this, traditional Spanish vibe to it, but then it also adds onto the flavor and the texture of the track. The kick drums and the guitar loop samples are also pretty nice, and overall, I'm actually kind of happy with this track. And Malamente is great, okay? But what really topped the track for me is Pienso en tu Mirá, which is, oh my gosh, which is such a great song. Such a great song. I mean, oh, Pienso en tu mira, clava una bala en el pecho. The verses of this thing is very sad and sentimental, but then when it hits the chorus, it's super catchy, super watertight, and it has this very low key, I don't know what's that. I guess synths maybe, but it's the kind of sound you also hear at the beginning of the House of Cards theme. So it's this, it's this very lo-fi bass. It's very watery, and I love it. It's just whoa. And the music video, once again, we get these crazy dramatic zoom ins on these random ordinary people with their chest blood coming out, because the lyrics are basically I think about your gaze, like a bullet to my chest, and it's hard hitting, it's impactful, and I love it. And then we have Di Aquí no sales, or Di Aquí no sales, Di Aquí no sales. um yeah I, yeah, I think it's there's no way out or something, the track translation. But anyway, this track is very, very special because it's more of a soundtrack than an actual song. Because at first we get these siren sound effects, engines starting, we get these car sounds, motorcycle sounds, and then they get more frequent and they get more cohesive. They started to form a beat and it gets very fast. And then Rosalía originally had these very free vocals, and then her vocals started to, infuse with the beat and becomes this super chopped up mix, and it's just very tense, it's very tight, and I didn't expect something like that from Rosalía, to be honest. But after it, we got Reniengo, which is a very beautiful and dramatic flamenco folk song, similar to the ones on Los Angeles. I love the very thick and saturated and powerful strings. They are really, really dramatic. And overall, her performance is really emotional. So, it's a beautiful track. Really beautiful. And then after Preso, which is an interlude, we get Bagdad, which is yet another solid Spanish pop song. I love the vocal harmonies in the beginning. They are alienating, they are strange almost. And I like the beat of the track because for some reason they sound like footsteps, like somebody's running. And on that beat, Rosalía sings some of the saddest and prettiest verses on the album so far. And on the second half of the track almost feels like a church hymn, and it's such a beautiful and wild sense, And then we have Di mi nombre, say my name, Di mi nombre, and wow, it's super catchy once again. While it's not as glitzy as Malamente or Pienso en tu Mirá, this track, it's more folk oriented, but still, it's extremely catchy, really cohesive, and we get these auto-tune backup vocals by Rosalía. That's amazing. That adds a great touch. And I just love the verses. The descending pianos on the verses are amazing. They're beautiful, and the vocals are extremely expressive, And overall, it's such a tight and fun track to listen to for some reason. And then up next, we have Na Na, which is basically a lullaby. The vocals are very stripped down, and we get these subtle sound effects, and it almost sounds like a James Blake song to me, but not quite, because it's in Spanish, of course. And this track overall is so alienistic, but at the same time so intimate and so beautiful, and you can really calm yourself down by listening to the track, because na na, lullaby. And then we have Maldición, another amazing track, to be honest. We get these strange and ominous, but somehow refreshing climbing keys, and the vocals, they are very, very folk heavy, and it's once again another beautiful track. And then in the middle of the track sort of stops a little bit, and we hear this strange, kung fu sound effects like pew pew yeah pew pew bang pew pew, and it's a really funny touch, and it's Rosalía herself who's doing the and then after that we get this very muffled, weird ominous sound effect, and all of this together, it feels kind of evil. It feels like maldición, and the album ends off with A Ningún, Hombre, which is to any man, to any men, and it's probably the most underwhelming track of the entire album. Not only is it because it's the shortest track on the record, I think it's not all that strong. I love the vocal harmonies. They are haunting, but overall the track doesn't do all that much in terms of melody or instrumentals. So, but still, I love the album. It's definitely gonna end up in my top 10, hopefully, unless there are greater albums. But yeah, I'm kind of feeling an 8 out of 10, and my favorite here is Pienso and Mirá, and my least favorite is A Ningún, Hombre. Yeah, this album, muy bien, muy bien. And up next, I'm also going to talk about a muy bien album, that is Julia Holter's Aviary, which is a giant album, 90 minutes long, 15 tracks. Wow, epic monster, mini wow. Julia Holter, if you don't know her, she is a singer-songwriter, but also a movie composer. She wrote the soundtrack to like Let It Bleed, featuring Miles Teller or something, and I thought that's kind of interesting. But anyway, she's also more of a art pop, ambient, electronic musician that's very lo-fi. And on this album, you know what? Let's just get right into the album, because there are a lot to talk about. Turn the Light On is the first track, which is explosive, very grand, and it's a cacophony of monolithic and beautiful instrumentals. It's like an interlude, but 10 times amplified, and it has this post-rock feel to it even, and the sea of vocals are amazing. They're very bright, and it's such a burst of colors. It's very beautiful. Even though the composition is very loose, it's not really a song, but more like a giant wall of sound, but still, it's very beautiful. And then we have the second track, Weather, which is easily the worst track on the album. I mean, it tries to be poppy with the very steady beat and the synths, but it's just super awkward. The synths are just constantly beeping, beep, 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 and it's just kind of not that good. And then when her vocals come in, everything starts to distort a little bit and clip a little bit. It's not that nice of a touch, when you're trying to do something a little more poppy. And then we have Chaitius, I would like to call it that. It's this 8-minute long orchestral classical epic with 3 phases. Once again, the composition is very loose, but I still love the instrumentation and the musicianship of the track. The reeds and the strings are beautiful, and the vocal harmonies are tense, and I also really like the wild and ambitious pianos. Phase 1 is orchestral, but Phase 2 is just this strange, freaky thing where Julia Holter goes, joy, 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 and it's kind of weird, to be honest, kind of weird. And then we have Phase 3, which breaks into this dream pop sound that Julia Holter is known for, but at the same time, it's loosely composed. I guess the first track and the third track is not all that bad. There are certainly more to desire, but then Voce Simul is probably, one of the best tracks on the record, because oh my gosh, Voce, Simul. And on this track, she sings in Latin, which is amazing. And I think Voce Simul is basically simultaneous voices, so it's like a vocal harmony or something. But oh my gosh, we get this very simple bass line uh, backing up, and then we get the vocals that are very raw. And occasionally, when it gets sanitized too much, the song just, like, I don't know, grow these flowers. It's like a branch, and all the flowers are very big and beautiful and yellow in color, but sometimes these flowers are kind of gray in color, and they are basically these dissonant noises that that's sort of like an error. It's just and it's such a serene feeling. It's truly mind bending. And when I was listening to the track, it sounds like I just somehow ended up in the middle of a forest in midnight alone, where it's cold and it's empty and dark. And but for some reason, I see these very comfortable yellow lights, I think fluorescent lights, seeping out from the tree roots, from the ground, and all the trees are glowing. And oh my god. And the second half of the track is more chanty, and I still love it a lot. And then we have Every Day is an Emergency, which has some really crying, screaming reeds at the beginning that's really tense and ominous. But then once you listen to it more, they sound more like crickets in the night. They sound more like bugs and insects more than actual threat, because they have a certain cuteness to it. So it's a pretty interesting feeling. And we also get these very forlorn and dark pianos towards the core part of the track, and overall, it's beautiful. We have Another Dream, which is basically Julia Holter singing against all sorts of different synths, chime synths, glitchy synths, smooth synths, drony synths, all sorts of synths, and it's very heavy. And towards the end, it's almost apocalyptic. And overall, the track is such a vivid and pretty depiction of these dreams. The most straightforward track on the entire record has to be I Shall Love Too, which has these very sweet ascending vocals and these beats that sound like those Aphex Twin beats you hear on XTAL style. It makes this track sound less serene and less expensive, and more, I guess, intimate and personal, more humane. And I love the dissonant sounds on this thing. The lyrics are beautiful as well. And then we have Underneath the Moon, which has this very strange jungle drum beat, and the strings on this track are very transcending and theatrical, and it's just a strangely funky jam of a track, It's really interesting. We have the track Colligere, or however you want to pronounce it, which has a very weird vibe, but the instrumentals are very grand. And the composition is very grand as well, because the track is very long-winded and it's very epic. And then we have In Garden's Muteness, which sounds very sad and stale in a very cold-blooded way, and it's a very disjointed piano ballad, and once again, it's very beautiful. We have the track I Would Rather See, which has some very lonely and isolating accordions in the beginning. I believe it's accordions, I'm not that sure. The melodies are more straightforward, and the ending of the track is epic. We have Les Jeux to You, where Julia Holter sings in French, impressive, and it has these jaunty pianos and drums that are super duper upbeat and almost catchy, and again, that's not something that I would normally expect from Julia Holter. The vocals are eccentric as well, especially during the chorus, I something, I something, I something, and it's super duper upbeat. It almost sounds sarcastic, satirical. And the chorus is very messy, it's very exciting, it's very freaky, it's whoa, like whoa, what the hell, man. The track Words I Heard is actually pretty damn great as well. The strings are sentimental, and the pianos and the bass are beautiful, and this track has this very strong, uncertain vibe to it, where you doubt your sense of reality. And we have I Shall Love 1, which is basically a reprise of I Shall Love 2, but with massive drums and massive vocals, and they're so massive, it almost sounds like a religious song. And at the end, we have Why Sad Song? Why Sad Song? And it's a very dark and dimly lit piece of music. The instrumentals are very, I guess, lo-fi and quiet and ominous as well. And the pianos are very beautiful and haunting, and it's such a haunting ballad to end off with. And overall, I think the album is great. While I do understand why some people find it pretentious, still, if you have the patience, you will find this album very, very beautiful. I'm giving it an 8 out of 10, and my favorite track here is okay. Yeah, I Shall Love too, but I don't know. Voce Simul is pretty great. I'd have to go with I don't know. And to talk about my 5th album, it's the 5th one, right? No, wait, it's not. Oh, right, there's a Poppy album. I completely missed out. Shit. Yeah, whatever. I'll talk about Poppy on the next one then. Damn it. I listened to so much Poppy. You know, Am I a Girl? And I forgot to write the script for it. But yeah, anyway, let's talk about Vince Staples, FM, exclamation mark, and it's, you know, they say it's an album, but it's more like an EP because it clocks at around 22 minutes long, and I'm running out of time. But yeah, oh my gosh, it's probably my favorite Vince Staples release so far. It has a very interesting concept because this album is basically a long radio program full of rap hip-hop hits, and we get these DJ breaks and skits, and wow, it's amazing. The album starts off with Feels Like Summer, which is very grimy and catchy. The beat I'm talking about, and the beat is also very futuristic as well. And the flow by Vince Staples is very laid back and smooth. And we also get these sections where we get the vocals, and it's auto-tuned. It's very summery, and I actually like it. Overall, such a great album opener, even though I consider it more of an EP. And then we have Outside. Whoa, straight up banger, nasty banger. The beat is amazing, and the chorus is super catchy. Eastside, who bout that live? Westside, who bout that live? Nighttime, who bout to die? And the bass of this thing is monstrous. And then we have Don't Get Chipped, which is another great song. We have these glitchy synths, which are amazing, and J-Rock singing is actually pretty good. The beat is amazing as well. And then we have Relay, which has a very cool futuristic beat, but it's Vince Staples' flow that makes this track so great. It's very freaky. And we have New Earl Sweatshirt, which is an interlude, and it's a funny little snippet of track. And then we have Run the Bands, which has a very ominous beat. I love the freaky ominous beat, and the instrumentals, they are almost drunken and dizzying. It's pretty amazing. And even though the track is hard-hitting, it's not as hard-hitting as, you know, Outside or Fun, which is basically the next track. Fun, amazing, all caps. First of all, the music video, amazing. Google Street View, go check it out. And the beat of this thing is kick-ass. The flow is amazing. Christian Dior, I'm crippin' Dio. I forgot the lyrics, but damn, the flow of this thing, super amazing, super tight. We have the track No Bleedin', which has a xylophone instrumental, which is pretty nice, but the chorus is a little bit repetitive, I guess. And then we have Brand New Tyga, an interlude, which is probably the most underwhelming interlude on the entire thing. You know, Tyga's weak, Tyga's kind of annoying, and the singing is really weak as well. And the album ends off with Tweakin', which is a forlorn and dark rap song about a death of a friend. And yeah, the beat is nice, the flow is nice, but the emotions of the track is really, I guess, impactful. And I'm really satisfied with the album. I'm giving it an 8 out of 10. And my favorite here is Fun, and my least favorite is Brand New Tyga. And yeah, to end it off, I'm gonna talk about Mick Jenkins with Pieces of a Man. You know, I don't know why, but I don't know. He didn't put Bruce Banner or What Am I to Do on this album, which are two very amazing tracks. However, he did put Understood on this album, which is pretty nice. Yeah, and this album mostly it's just jazzy, laid back, lo-fi beats, while the flow is amazing by Mick Jenkins and his low pitch delivery is pretty special. Most of the tracks on the album are just okay. They're not all that great. They're not all that memorable. However, we have memorable tracks like Gwendolynn's Apprehension with a very, very catchy beat that sounds luxurious, and the flow is really, really nice in here. We have Barcelona, which is intimate, and the bass of the beat is almost Thundercat-esque. Reginald is also a very smooth and comfortable jazz rap track that's actually one of the more solid and cohesive ones. Understood is easily my favorite track in here. It's very sweet, it's very summery and exotic, and I really love the beat of the thing, and overall it has a very nice sunset tropical vibe to it. And that's about it, man. Grace and Mercy is the worst track here. It's such a boring, monotone trap rap track. Padded Locks, it's okay, but Jizza's just okay. And while I like the beat, it's kind of, it's like the strings and it's looping around. But still, the track is just okay. The track's Soft Porn, yeah, the lyrics are really awkward. And the beat is also kind of awkward. Give it to me with the clothes off. And the album Ender, Smoking Song, is, I mean, it's a really, really funny track about smoking. Oh well, my lungs are already destroyed. What's, what's the matter if I smoke one more? And BBNG or Bad Bad Not Good is featured here, so that's pretty cool, and funny sound effects as well. Also, I'm gonna want to talk about Consensual Seduction, which has a very disjointed flow, but a very dreamy instrumentals. Um, yeah, it's just okay. Overall, I'm kind of feeling a strong 6 here, cause yeah, kind of underwhelmed by it a little bit, but still, the album overall is just okay. And you know what? I'm gonna talk about the Poppy album without writing a script. Freestyle. Let's go. Even though I don't have time here, but Poppy. Originally I was not interested to listen to Am I a Girl at all, but you know what? Whatever. I'll listen to it. Even though the album cover is so normal, I wish they would come up with a better album cover, maybe. But yeah, anyway, the album itself is actually not all that bad. I mean, In a Minute is a very catchy song about, having this desire to make up and do stuff. So I'll do my nails in a minute. And my favorite here is Time Is Up featuring Diplo, easily the catchiest. The synths are amazing. While the lyrics are very simple, they're kind of dumbed down. Oh my god, what do I know? It's still a very catchy, almost 90s throwback synth pop track. And I like Aristocrat. It's pretty amazing, really soft and cutesy, and the pianos are very luxurious and lavishing. Um, Towards the last couple of tracks on the album, it goes pretty nuts. So we have Play Destroy featuring Grimes, which is a very cohesive pop track that actually incorporates heavier metal sounds. But still, it's not as metal as the album Ender X, which I didn't quite like at first because it feels like, oh look, we're going metal as well, so cool. I mean, the way they introduced heavy metal sounds into the pop, it's pretty interesting, but still, overall, it's not like a great heavy metal track, right? Yeah, but still, I still like it. And my least favorite in here, probably the second track, Fashion After All. It sounds like Poppy is just basically copying all the other EDM pop artists nowadays in the industry. It's fashion after all. Boom, boom. And the beat is almost Charlie Puth-esque. But whatever, man. Whatever. The album overall, it's pretty okay. It's not that bad. I'm kind of feeling a 7 out of 10. So yeah, what are your thoughts on? Oh yeah, my favorite here is my favorite track is Time Is Up, and my least favorite, again, Fashion After All. Overall, what are your thoughts on these 6 albums? From 1 to 10, how much did you rate them? Like if you like them, hate if you hate them, and subscribe if you want more. And I'll talk about that Jaden Smith tape.